so excited to move to the US, but nobody told me how hard it would be just to make friends in this country. Like literally in Cuba, maybe because I'm Cuban, everybody over there is Cuban, I guess, it's so freaking easy. Even your neighbors, it feels like it's a community. But here, it's like everybody's just wishy-washy. They actually avoid people.
There was no one around me that was holding up a mirror to me because I was chronically alone. When we talk about loneliness, when we talk about being alone, when we talk about not having community, a lot of people are losing themselves because they're not around people.
Hi, welcome to Dee's African Perspective. Today we're going to be talking about the loneliness epidemic in the US. And like this is a situation where I know some people actually have like good relationships when it comes to having friends and families and so and so. But then there are a lot of people honestly in the US, because it's like how you know that there's a lot of it is whenever you see videos like this and when you interact with people on a daily and see people daily, you can see what they're talking about. You can see how their like life is, like their social life, how there's like so many things, diagnosis of like people having anxiety, some people being lonely, depressed, all alone by themselves. And you know, the US is like it's a place where it's like said to be an individualistic type of society, so everybody's on their own. These videos are going to be people actually talking about the loneliness and how with friendship, many people, it's so difficult to actually make friends in the US, especially as an adult. And it's a life where everybody's just minding their business, staying on their own, and then this has a lot of negative impact on people. As humans, we all need each other. Like even like, yeah, you can have your romantic relationship, romantic partners, you need friends, you need to have a community. But before we get right into this video, I want to give a big shout out to Joseph for sending me a $20 cash app. Thank you so much, Joseph, for always supporting my channel. I appreciate you so much. Make sure you please click the like button. It helps with the algorithm and I definitely appreciate that so much. And also subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you're watching me for the very first time. Let's get right into it.
You know how I know there's a loneliness epidemic here in America? I have been 22 different people's personal reference for a job. And I got like 2 friends. I have had people call me just out of the blue and be like, hey, I just want to let you know that I put you down as a personal reference on my job application. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. I don't really know you that well, but I'm going to fight for you 100%. But I was thinking about it after like number 22 last week. And I was like, man, nobody has any friends.
Being without community and being chronically alone can cause you to lose yourself and not even notice that you're losing yourself because there's no mirrors being held up to you. Community is not just company, but also reflection. One of my mutuals actually just posted a video recently. Her stitches were off, so I couldn't stitch the video, but I'll tag it down below. She was actually talking to one of her friends in a video and telling her friend, like, homegirl, you are losing yourself. I think it was such an honest conversation and a conversation that is very needed. When you have people around you, people who care enough about you to say, hey, you're slipping through the cracks. You're forgetting who you are. You guys have a strong enough bond for y'all to have these types of honest conversations. It does so much for you. When you are chronically alone, always by yourself, always in the house, isolated, like I was for the past 4 or 5 years, working remote, not really having a lot of friends, had left my last church, hadn't found a church yet. COVID was going on and I had experienced multiple miscarriages. I was in the house staring at my 4 walls, gaining weight. Didn't even really realize that I was gaining weight. Didn't realize that I was slipping through the cracks because there was no one around me to tell me that. There was no one around me that was holding up a mirror to me because I was chronically alone. When we talk about loneliness, when we talk about being alone, when we talk about not having community, a lot of people are losing themselves because they're not around people.
You guys know that I just moved out of Spain after living there for a year. And while I was there, I noticed something about the Spanish people that was so profoundly different from what I'm used to in America, that like it changed who I am as a person. And I think about it all the time and I just feel like I need to share it. You know, like the physical touch that's non-sexual, like putting your hand on someone else's hand to like give them comfort, or if you're walking side by side with your friend and you like put your arm around their neck to like be buddy with them, like little things like that. I noticed that the Spanish people and the Spanish women in particular do little non-sexual physical touches like this with people so much more frequently than you ever see in America. And I mean just like strangers too. Like there was one time that I was in an El Corte Inglés, which is essentially like a Dillard's, and I went up to a sales associate and I asked her where like something was or if they had something, and she gently touched my forearm and was like, I don't remember, but let me go ask my associate. And I was just like, aw. Like, it makes you feel like human. It makes you feel more like familiar, that like you're in like a community and like people are just people around you. And like, I don't know, I would see it reflect in boys too. Like they would be more comfortable with like physical affection with their male friends as well. And I feel like we just don't ever do that in America. I don't know if it's like the individualism or what, but I've started like incorporating it like a little bit more, and I've noticed that like my friends, they have told me that they really like it, that I've like started doing it, and they find it like really sweet and like very comforting. But I think it's so cute because it shows like companionship, and it shows that like you're cool with that person, and like not everything has to be expressed with words, and it's just another way to like show that like you care for another human being just through like body language.
Yo, the last few days I've really been reminded that like making friends in America is so difficult. Like making friends in America is a whole different ball game. Let me not even just say difficult. Like maybe I just give myself time also, but it is a whole different ball game. And the thing is, I'm a very social person. Like one thing about me is I don't experience nervousness really. I don't really experience even like stage fright. I'm someone who enjoys public speaking. That's how out there I am. But this is difficult. And the thing is, in the last like year and a half, 2 years, I had to learn how to intentionally make friends because I was out of school and I wasn't working, and like I was just in this weird place in life that I didn't know anybody else who was my age that was going through something similar, at least at that time. And I had to learn how to make new friends. I had to learn how to like go to events by myself. I had to learn how to like use the internet to find my people. I met so many of my friends through TikTok. But then it's like, eventually I just got the hang of it, and I was just making friends left, right, center in Nairobi at that point. But coming here, it's just different. And I'm one of those people, if I know when people say they have social anxiety, I'm like, first of all, so many of you are misusing that. Some of you don't have social anxiety. You have a fear. And I need to understand that a fear is very different from being anxious about something or having anxiety. Because like having anxiety is like, it's an irrational fear that there's nothing you can do that will take it away. You just have to learn how to manage it. Some of you are just afraid and you need to get over the fear, and then things will get easier. And I feel like I got over the fear of like meeting new people and talking to people. But it's not enough in America because it's difficult for an interaction with a person in America to lead to something else. And what I mean by that is like, well, at least here in the Midwest, like people are so nice and pleasant. People are great at pleasantries. Like people open the door for you. People randomly help you with things. People always ask you how your day is going. Like in just the most nicest way. But it's so surface level. It like is so difficult for it to go past that. And people's energies are drained because they're doing that for everybody instead of like just a few people. And I think maybe it's also the difference in like somewhere that is smaller in population and growing up in a big city is like, I feel like in Nairobi, people are not going to waste their pleasantries on you. People have places to be. People are not just randomly saying, oh, how's your day going? Like, we're nice, we're professional. People are very professional. But when people do spend their time talking to you and asking you things about your day, then that means they're like very willing to carry a conversation like further. It also has to do with like the way people conceive time here and the way time is conceived like back home, like at least in Kenya. But I think a lot of like Black people do this in general. Like even the idea of CP time, like
Here, if you're passing someone in the hallway and you start a conversation, it's supposed to be short. It is expected that it will be short. And me, being someone who's not great at social cues, I need to adjust to that. Because for me, normally, if you meet someone somewhere and you strike up a conversation randomly, you're just passing by each other when you're back home, there's like an idea that even if this conversation lasted for 20 minutes, it's fine. Okay? I'll be late to whatever it is that I'm doing. Because nobody's in a rush. Like, there's always time in people's heads for interactions. But here, it's like everything's on a crunch. Nobody has any extra time for anything. Like, everything's moving at like 120 kilometers an hour at any given moment. And so I think that also changes the way people perceive time.
The lady talking about friends holding each other, like the friendship touch thing, was actually something that was surprising to me too, because I actually thought it was normal, like leaving my country and then moving to the US. I realized that, oh, it's something that I had to learn, like, oh, you don't really just go ahead, like, just be touchy to your friends. And because immediately the thought that comes in people's head is you are definitely gay, or you're kind of sexually interested in them. And it's like, oh my God, like, no, because I literally had, like, when I was in school in my country, I had a lot of friends, and we always hold each other's hands. Like, we could be walking down the street, crossing the street, and we'll hold each other's hands. And I've actually seen some men do that, and in some areas, in some places, not everywhere though, but I've seen that. And we hold each other's hands, hold each other's shoulder, hug each other, do all sort of things. But I actually thought, like, it's totally normal to do that. But I heard that you really cannot even do that sometimes, some people. And I've also heard about, like, I understand that though, in this aspect, like when it comes to like personal boundaries, where you don't want to like share the same bed with someone. But like, I've shared bed with my friends, no thoughts about like, or anything, sexual, or that is just normal. Like, we're friends, we love each other, we like hanging around each other, we spend time together, talk together, support each other, be there for each other. So that's just it. And so to actually be in a space where it's like people have a different thoughts and outlook, and that is kind of like a different cultural shock, I guess, in some situation. But things are just different for people.
One thing I find really interesting is that in cultures that value individualism or achievement, your friends are supposed to help bring out the best version of you. I feel like on TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, you see the advice of show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you how much money you make or the type of person you're going to turn out to be. And while that's very true, because I really, really, really agree with it, more collectivist or chill cultures, they don't focus on having friends who make you better, but being around people who love you and make sure that you enjoy life.
It's been 5 years in the US, and of course my English is better now. When I got here, I only spoke Spanish, so on top of the culture here, not knowing anybody, it was harder because, I couldn't even speak the language. But even now, having the language and like going out, and it's still hard to make connections, because don't get me wrong, I'm the type of person that I just don't care about going out by myself. I used to do that all the time in Vegas, clubs, restaurant, bars, or whatever. If I didn't have anybody to go, I would go by myself, and I knew I was gonna have a great time. And at the moment, I would meet people there, and like we would be best friends for the night. But then it just doesn't go anywhere. Right now, I work from home. Everything is remote. I don't have the human connection all day. Like, that's one of the reasons I actually wanted to come back to TikTok, because man, I have nobody to talk to. Literally everybody I have around is long distance. All my friends have moved out. My boyfriend is long distance. I really need to talk to someone, so TikTok it is.
America is going through a loneliness epidemic. From the ages of 15 to 24 are 70% less likely to have quality social interactions. Being in America cater to a very individualistic culture, so there's a lot of division. Here are some reasons contributing to why I think the loneliness epidemic is happening, and some ways that we can combat it on an individual level. Try to stay connected with more people in our own lives. America in general, and just Americans, we've cultivated a very individualistic culture. And although that mindset has put us in a position to compete really well economically, the rise of technology and the huge cultural shift in the pandemic, it's really created this barrier and almost bias between connecting with people. I mentioned in some cities we don't really have a central transportation system. For example, in high populated cities like New York, a lot of people walk, a lot of people take the subway. It really increases the social interaction and communal space for people to be together and to connect. Versus someone like me who lives in California, it sometimes can be around a 30-minute to an hour drive to get to your destination. After that time, with the energy levels you're putting into your work or your daily job, can be an extra barrier for people to connect. A lot of these third spaces that people have been mentioning are bars, clubbing, drinking, to involve some sort of payment or money. It also doesn't highlight sometimes the real authentic connection that you get from not being intoxicated and talking to someone face to face, or having the intrinsic courage to have a conversation without relying on a group setting or substances or drinking in order to see someone for who they are. There are some ways that I think we can combat it on an individual level. One, having the courage to initiate and being creative with your initiation. There are people that have reached out to me online asking me if they want to hang out face to face, and every time I've said yes to an invitation, I said yes to a new connection that led me to a new experience. I consider myself socially anxious and I'm trying to combat this myself, but what I'm realizing is chances are people are also looking to make friends, so the more that we can be honest and vulnerable about where we're at right now in our social life without the fear that we're coming off too strong or without the fear that they might think we're being desperate, can open avenues for more social interactions. For example, vulnerable, I mean saying things like, I'm just looking to make new friends. It's super cool that you're doing X, Y, and Z. If you're down, maybe we could grab some coffee and talk about it more. Other thing is in these third spaces or community organizations you could participate in that pique your interest. This could be Pilates classes, pickleball, book clubs, classes you could go repetitively and start familiarizing yourself with people, spaces, and things, and just eventually get the courage to say hi and introduce yourself. Places where people can gather from common interests are really helpful. It also helps highlight a part of yourself that you're interested in and you want to pursue. The last part more has to do with maintaining friendships. They're so quick and easy to drop someone because of a conflict or maybe a misunderstanding. If we could be more honest with each other and communicate when something is bothering us, and receiving end, learn how to forgive other people, realize that friendships are flexible, it's changing, and as people grow and progress in their own lives, their needs and their experiences will also change. Just be vulnerable, not be afraid of conflict. People more of an opportunity to continue to be in our lives and continue to set our own boundaries of how we want other people to treat us. Loneliness epidemic in America needs to be addressed. I don't think it should be normalized. We need to make a conscious effort to combat our own anxiety and stay aware of how these things can affect people on a day-to-day basis and how we can work on our own level to cultivate a culture of connectiveness.
People who move to America complain about the lack of friendship quality, and people who leave America rave about how good people are in terms of friendship. And I think that America is not a good place for making friends or having friends. And if you do have a friend in America, that is like a blessing, because our culture is so individualistic to the point where even navigating friendships is like a job in a way. It's not very natural. And the classification of friends in America just doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of people are mistaking friendly interactions for friendship. So as long as you're a good conversationalist and somebody likes you, if you talk at least twice, they're going to call you a friend. And it's like, that's not what it means to be a friend. That's more of an acquaintance than anything else. But most people in America don't get that or don't label things that way. So you have a lot of people saying so-and-so is my friend when it's like, that's not a friend, that's an acquaintance. Whereas if you go to in my opinion, if you leave America and go to other parts of the world, you don't really make friends that easily. Like, people can have good conversation and interact with you and still be okay not calling you a friend. There's more of an investment required to be a friend. Whereas in America, all it takes is good interactions. But you need more than good interactions to sustain a friendship. You need investment and you need intentionality. And that's why I think a lot of people in adulthood in the United States are struggling to find friends because it's like, oh, I thought all of these people who I interacted with well, socialized with well, and had good times with were my friend. But then time will tell and circumstances in your life will show that, hey, these people are not really showing up for you because in as much as you called each other a friend, in theory and practice, that was not a friend. That was just somebody you interacted with well. And so I think it would behoove us as a society in America to really discuss why we use the word friend so loosely, because I think it just makes friendships look very meaningless or careless or insignificant when we don't really, we just put everything like all together. It's just there's no distinction. Whereas in other parts of the world, when you're called a friend, that actually has meaning. In America, being called a friend has no meaning. And that's why a lot of people who move here from other countries, the number one complaint is how poor the quality of friendships are here. Yeah.
As a woman, you have to be really careful when choosing your friends because a lot of women like the aesthetic of friends, but they do not value friendship. They don't even know what real friendship is. And when I tell you no idea, I mean have absolutely no idea. And when you're unaware of this, you'll think you have friends when you really just have people who don't mind having space fillers. Like, you may be their friend, but they're not your friend. They'll use you to have a full table at their birthday parties. They'll have you out here spending your hard-earned money and do not give a flip for you. Also, y'all can do that little boomerang passport thing that all the girls do when they get ready to leave the country. You'll be thinking you're out spending quality time with your friends. Whole time, they're only there so they can get a video for their stories on social media of y'all doing toast with shots or something. But where are those friends when life starts lifing? When you lose a parent, when you lose a job, when you're having financial hardship or going through a divorce or having problems with your children. I said all this to say, be sure that the people you consider friends don't consider you a friend for aesthetic reasons, but in some way, your life impacts their life. Because when people don't find value in you, they'll use you for the things they do find valuable. And in this day and age, social media, clout. So stop participating before you start evaluating what you really mean to these girls.
I'll tell you one thing, we are not going to make it out of this friendship recession by hosting community events that are just branded around making friends, like so blatantly. I don't know if you've seen these around where you live, but like there will just be community gatherings that are exclusively, like explicitly just for like, come here, meet people, make friends. And like that might seem like a strategic way to go about it, but actually I think it just like further illuminates how little we actually know in this modern age about forming like meaningful connections and friendship. Like it's harrowing to me, and I know I'm being dramatic right now, but it's just like it is just not a sustainable practice to have a bunch of strangers come together without any common theme, common interests, and expect them to just bump around like a bunch of atoms and hopefully they'll make a molecule. Like, we don't need events to make friends. We need third spaces. We need ritualized places where the same faces, the familiar people are showing up week over week in fellowship because you share some common interest, some hobby. Maybe it's vinyl records. Maybe it's comedy. Maybe it's biking. Maybe it's floral arrangements. Could be literally anything, but like, I think it can make you feel even more lonely if you go to these events and you make a bunch of one-off connections and then the burden, the work is on you because you don't know when you're ever going to see them again in your city to like make plans like every week, like, okay, let's get brunch, let's get dinner, let's like keep up this connection because it's like you might not have anything in common. And like, I think it's no secret that a lot of our deepest bonds are formed in school, are formed in college, maybe through work, places where you're repeatedly seeing the same people. You build up those hours. You get to know each other without it being so forced and so one directionally charged towards like a destination. It's like, no, Let's show up, mingle, but have some sort of common purpose or goal. That's how people get along. That's how people find their people. And I'm not saying we'd be better off without those types of hollow, blatant make friends events, but I just don't think they're furthering us, and our energy would be better spent on like literally having your existing friends meet each other in a book club every week, hosting like a writing group. Like, I know it seems obvious, people don't have friends, make event to make friends, but it's like, that's not a straight shot. That's not a clear-cut route. It's not how we've historically made friends. And when you show up someplace with a very explicit goal in mind, I am supposed to leave here having made friends, it makes the situation so much more constrained, and all of your conversations are so focused and channeled. It's like, no, let's be open-minded. We come here to focus on something else, and if the friendship happens, it happens. Like, let's just enjoy the process, and if you show up somewhere consistently week over week with familiar faces, you will make connections that matter. Like, it is foolproof. I just don't want to go to any events that feel like networking mixers. I know my tone here was disproportionate to the actual substance of this, but I'm just tired.
Due to this happening, I see a lot of people who actually be like, oh, you know, like they go online, try to make friends, but then they be like, oh my God, like how are you even going to make friends when they try to make some friends, meet some people, and then once they just meet them, they have to go and meet them in some places because you don't trust people like immediately. Like, how the hell would you let somebody come to your house? And then it's like they have to go and meet in some public space and be in a place where they have to spend so much money, like, you know, go out, do stuff, or if they want to do some activities to get to know each other. So like the whole thing about meeting friends, I feel like doing it online actually feels like dating to me. It just feels like you're doing like a serious dating where you all are trying to like find out more about each other. Like, it just makes me miss, you know, that natural meeting of friends connection where you guys go to an event and you just happen to meet someone, you guys bump into each other for some reason, you ask questions about, oh, like, hey, this, or you guys just sit down and start chit-chatting about something that's happening, and before you know it, you just, you know, like the person and you just get their number. Like, things like that actually feel natural, like going to all those places. But I know as adults, like, we can't really be going to those places because everybody's just busy with work. And yeah, so, but to be honest, like, I miss those things because I feel like just going on that, you know, online, like you meet somebody online, yeah, you can meet good friends. I'm sure a lot of people have met so many lovely friends. Like, even I have met lovely people online. But I just say, like, in most situations, it just feels like, you know, you're trying to like, tell me about yourself. Like, the whole thing, just the whole interaction just feels like you're just trying to find somebody to be in a relationship, like a romantic relationship with. Like, that's just how it is. It's just weird, and I don't think it's fun. Like, I love the whole natural thing where you guys just, you know, bond like that and everything just goes well, you vibe. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching this video to the very end. I really appreciate you so much. Make sure you please click the like button. It helps with the algorithm and I appreciate that a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you're watching me for the very first time, and hit the notification bell to get notified every time I post a new video. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.